It is a privilege to be joined by Larry Robbins here today. He is the founder and CEO of Glenview Capital Management. He serves on the Robinhood Board of Directors and chairs the Education Committee. He is also the chairman of the Relay Graduate School of Education and of KIPP New York City, and serves on the board of Teach for America in New York. He is one of my personal heroes, so I'm thrilled to have this conversation. You started giving back early in your career. What motivated you to become involved in philanthropy?
Sure, two things. First of all, I got a little bit lucky that I happened to know Mike Feinberg, who's one of the two co-founders of KIPP. I knew him in college, and Mike went off to do a great thing after college, which was to do Teach for America and improve the quality of education for inner city kids. And I went the more traditional route of what people do from the University of Pennsylvania, which is went off to Wall Street to make some money. And yet I never forgot about the fact that Mike was probably doing a better job for the world than I was. And so when I made my first, what I considered to be real check, I sent him a $25,000 donation, which was the biggest number I could ever think of at that time, and for what then was the KIPP schools, and I didn't know a thing about it. I just knew that Mike was doing something well, and that I wanted to be part of that team. And I was pleased to at that point in time, become a supporter of KIPP. But really, it took a little bit longer for me to really understand the mission. When I had children, I quickly realized that my children were born at Mount Sinai High School, or at Mount Sinai Hospital, and if you walk a mile and a half south, they're destined for a great life, great college education, great private schools, et cetera. But if they walk a mile and a half north, right, the odds of college graduation at that point in time are only 3% for that demographic. And that just seemed infinitely wrong, that a 2-day-old should have to have a coin flip as to whether they're going to a 3% chance of college graduation or to a 70% chance of college graduation. So at that point in time, in 2000, 2001, when I started having children, I started getting much more involved.
So you're doing this parallel track. You're investing on the for-profit side, and you have this friendship with Mike and then Dave on the not-for-profit side. What do you see are the parallels between your investing on the for-profit side and the not-for-profit side?
Sure. So when we were investing in the for-profit side with our business, we're looking for companies who operate in a good and growing industry, right? But we also want to make sure that we're investing with a management team who really understands their markets and who are going to make wise decisions on our behalf. Similar thing in philanthropy. We want to make sure that we're investing in something which is important, and ultimately that the charitable contributions can make a difference. And so I think we can all agree that every child deserves a good education, and so therefore there is nothing more important not only to those children, but frankly to the future of our country, than making sure that the education system is improved for all, and in particular is that we close the education gap and the equality gap there. And so it was important to pick the right sector to dedicate my resources to. But beyond that, the parallels are that ultimately you're co-investing with a team of social entrepreneurs. And it's really their energies, their insights, their passion, their ideas that will determine the return on your charitable investment. And so starting out, that meant co-investing with Mike and Dave at KIPP. But as I've come to have the pleasure of partnering with Robinhood and then ultimately joining Robinhood's board now 6 years ago, it's a team endeavor, and frankly the collective output of all of our contributions, both energy, leadership, diligence, as well as financial, leads to much better outcomes. And that's true on the for-profit side when we're investing, but it's certainly true on the philanthropic side.
And I've also heard you say that you've learned as much from Dave Levin about managing organizations as you've learned from others. How do you think about, what are those lessons that you learn?
Sure. Well, you know, when people are recruited to sit on boards, it's always you always figure that it's easier because they want you to be a donor, that they want you for the give or get, right? Or that somehow you're going to be able to take your management expertise or your experiences and transfer them to the nonprofit. And yet, as you're right, and we've talked about this, I've actually been lucky and fortunate to actually get as much from them and take that back to my own experience in the business world. Building the culture of a new and growing organization is a hard thing to do. And if you would have asked me when I was starting a hedge fund, what are the top 5 things on the list, building culture was not one of them. Building an attitude, a human resources organization, a focus on excellence. We were just trying to focus on a couple of stocks in the portfolio and a way to make money so we could have a second year. And yet the culture that they've created at KIPP, work hard, be nice, team beats individual. Those things may seem like simple words or simple concepts, and yet those are the ties that bind their almost every decision that they make. It's the ties that bind the way that they've rolled out their organization, and we've been able to adapt those very, very simple concepts. The biggest example I have is you and I both know that the big sign when you walk into the new KIPP High School says, "I fully commit." And it doesn't say I commit, it says I fully commit. And if we think about our business attitudes, how many of us challenge our employees or our partners or ourselves to not just be committed to our jobs or committed to this project, but to be fully committed? And what's the difference there? And that difference is what makes KIPP special. That difference is frankly what we're all striving to do on the for-profit world as we build our organizations as well.
In September, you cut the ribbon for the opening of the new KIPP High School. What was that like?
It was awesome. Cutting the ribbon was, of course, just a neat experience and a ceremonious experience. But the best thing for me was my wife Sarah May and I actually went back on the first day of school, the week after the opening ceremonies, and we sat there as the kids filed into the school between 7:30 and 8 in the morning. And having seen my own kids early in the morning and how unexcited they are to return back to the first day of school, it was amazing to see the faces of the kids as they realized that this brand new state-of-the-art facility, right, was theirs, and that this was their new home. And particularly for the returning seniors who for 3 years had been in basically temporary facilities until such time as they could come there. It was a dream that was made possible by not only Robin Hood's entire team, but an enormously generous team of donors who 7 years ago had the vision to collectively fund and partner with the city on building what I think is probably the nicest high school facility that I've ever seen.
Thank you for joining us today, Larry, and we look forward to the things to come.